Many years ago, in a quiet town surrounded by mountains and tall trees, there lived a teacher named Mr. Howard. He was famous for teaching important life lessons in simple, easy ways. People of all ages came to him whenever they felt lost, confused, or stressed. His students loved him because he did not just teach from books, he taught from life. One bright morning, a group of students entered his small classroom. They looked tired and stressed. Some were worried about their future, some were struggling with family issues, and some simply felt that life was too much for them. They quietly took their seats, waiting for the lesson to begin. Mr. Howard walked in slowly, carrying a large empty glass jar in his hands. The jar was tall, clear, and completely empty. The students looked at it with curiosity. They whispered to one another, wondering what this new lesson was going to be about. Mr. Howard placed the jar gently on the table. He smiled at the class and asked, "Tell me, how does your life feel these days?" One student said, "It feels like I have too many things to handle." Another said, "I feel stressed all the time. I am busy, but I don't feel happy." A third student added, "I feel like no matter how much I do, something is always missing." Mr. Howard nodded. "Good, today I will show you something that might change how you see your life." He reached under the table and lifted a box filled with big stones. Without saying anything else, he began to place the stones one by one into the empty jar. The stones were large and filled most of the space. When the jar was full, he looked at the students and asked, "Is the jar full now?" Everyone replied, "Yes, it's full." Mr. Howard smiled. "Are you sure?" Before they could answer, he took another small box from under the table. This one was filled with small pebbles. He poured the pebbles slowly into the jar. The pebbles slipped into the empty spaces between the big stones. The students were surprised. Now the jar looked even more full. Mr. Howard asked again, "Now is it full?" The students looked more carefully and said, "Yes, now it's full." Mr. Howard raised his eyebrows. "Really?" He then took a bag of sand and slowly poured it into the jar. The sand filled the tiny spaces between the stones and pebbles. The students laughed. They had not expected that more things could still fit inside the jar. Mr. Howard looked at the jar proudly. "Is it full now?" They replied, "Yes, this time it is completely full." Mr. Howard nodded. Then he reached down one last time and brought out a bottle of water. Without saying a word, he poured the water into the jar. The water slipped down easily, filling even the smallest gaps the sand had left behind. Now the jar was truly full. Mr. Howard looked at his students and said, "This jar is your life." The students leaned forward, waiting for the explanation. "The big stones," he continued, "are the most important parts of your life, your family, your health, your dreams, and the people you love. If you lose everything else, but still have these things, your life will still be full." He pointed to the pebbles. The pebbles are the smaller but still important things: your job, your school, your home, your responsibilities. Then he touched the sand. The sand represents small problems and worries that fill your day. Things like stress, arguments, social media, and all the noise of daily life. Finally, he tapped the jar gently. And the water. The water represents the tiny, unnecessary things we waste our time on. Things that do not help us, do not grow us, and do not matter. The class became silent. They listened carefully to every word. Mr. Howard looked at them with soft eyes and said, "If you put the sand or water into the jar first, Will the big stones still fit? The students shook their heads. No, the big stones won't fit. That is the point, Mr. Howard said. If you fill your life with small problems, small worries, and useless things first, you will never have space for the important things. He paused, letting the message sink in. But if you take care of the big things, first your health, your family, your purpose, your dreams, then the smaller things will still fit around them. One student raised his hand slowly. Sir, why did you add the water at the end? Mr. Howard smiled. Because no matter how busy life becomes, you should always make time for small joys like talking to a friend, watching the sunset, or drinking a cup of tea. The water is a reminder that life is meant to be enjoyed too. The class looked at the jar again. They understood the message now. Life was not about doing everything. It was about choosing what mattered most. Then Mr. Howard did something surprising. He took a cloth and covered the jar completely. He said, "Most people live their lives without ever seeing what is truly inside their jar. They do not think about priorities. They just live day by day, reacting to everything. And when life feels too heavy, they think their jar is broken." The students listened closely. "But your jar," he continued, "is never broken. It is your responsibility to choose what goes inside." A girl in the front row asked softly, "Sir, how do we know what the big stones are? Sometimes everything feels important." Mr. Howard smiled kindly. "Good question. The big stones are things that remain important even after 10 years. If something will not matter in the long run, it is probably sand." The students nodded slowly. This simple rule made everything much clearer. He added, "Every morning, ask yourself one question. What are the big stones I must take care of today?" If you start your day with that question, your life will never feel empty again. The room was silent again, but this time the silence felt peaceful. Many students realized that they had been filling their lives with sand things that drained their energy and time. Some felt emotional. Some felt relieved. Some felt hopeful for the first time in a long time. Mr. Howard lifted the jar again and said, "Your life is your jar. Protect it. Fill it wisely. And always remember, what you choose first will decide what your life becomes." School ended that day, but something inside the students had changed that evening. Many of them went home and made different choices. Some spent time with their families. Some started working on long-forgotten dreams. Some put away their phones and enjoyed quiet time. Some apologized to someone they loved. Some took care of their health. Some finally gave attention to what mattered. And slowly, their lives began to feel lighter, clearer, and more meaningful. The jar had changed them. Years later, some of those students became teachers, doctors, artists, leaders, and parents. And whenever life felt stressful or overwhelming, they remembered Mr. Howard's lesson. They imagined the jar, the stones, the pebbles, the sand, and the water on. They always knew what to put first. The truth is simple. Your life will change when you learn what to prioritize. And just like the jar, your life becomes beautiful when you fill it with the right things.